All right, once again, it's time for Off the Top Sportscast. I'm John, and that big guy right there is Roy. Roy, you have our topic of the day, but first, please like and subscribe, and please give us our comments. We love the comments. We live off the comments, and the comments is what builds the brand. Roy, what's the topic of the day?
So we're going to talk about NBA past and presents, and we're going to put 2-on-2 together, and we're going to make a comparison. If they were playing each other, what would you think? If what skill sets, stuff like that.
Okay.
So first up, if we were to put up head to head, who would you think would have a better chance of winning, or just overall skill set? You said Allen Iverson versus Steph Curry.
Yeah. So AI was a gritty player, was tough, and could get his shot off at any time. Steph takes more work to get his shot off, but can shoot from anywhere. AI sometimes I always used to think to myself, if Allen Iverson was open, your chances went down by 20% that he would hit it. But if somebody was on him and he's jumping, fading away into the corner, something crazy that he's going to hit the ground and slide, it went up by 20%, oddly enough. He was the master of taking a tough shot. I've never seen somebody hit the ground more playing basketball than Allen Iverson.
Do you think he can cover Steph?
I think he could cover Steph, yes, because he's going to just chase him around. Steph's not making a lot of one-on-one moves on you. So I think he could cover him. Doesn't mean he could stop him because, Steph's got that infinite range, but I think he can cover him. I think Steph Curry has no chance of staying with Allen Iverson. He'd shake him out of his shoes. I think it's close. I think it's really close.
I think Steph, if you keep him on the edge, that's where he likes to be. And I think he could be covered by AI. I think now the opposite, Iverson is inside, outside, hit the basket, hit a little short jumper, go further out. I think he has a lot more range even than Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the long ball.
Yeah.
Great dribblers. But if I was to say 2-on-2 and I'm going to pick one or the other, and I think even if they're playing against each other, I think that's the one I would pick. That's the one I would
pick. Who?
I would pick Allen Iverson.
Yeah, I think I pick Allen Iverson as well. And I think my biggest turning point in my brain, because they're very close as far as effective scorers, you know what I mean? But I think Allen Iverson makes other guys better. I think he makes other guys better more than Stephen Curry makes other guys better. Those guys be good. He had more to work with. Curry's had more to work with in his career than AI ever did in the 76ers or wherever he was at.
So right now, when I said real quick, who would win? Chat GPT. Who do you think? I'll give you one word. Barely. Who do you think you picked?
I think they would say Steph Curry, and it's just because of his resume. He's won all the titles, and AI doesn't have any.
Yeah, that's who said. He said Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Steph Curry. Good one. Good one.
And I get that, but AI took a team that the other player on there was Tyson Hill. That was the other best player, and he took him to the NBA Finals. Curry's never took an inferior team anywhere.
All right, this one. Giannis or Anthony Davis?
Okay. So physically, athletically, I think Giannis is just a better athlete.
Think about it in their prime. Don't think Davis now because he's
Yeah, no,
older, gets banged up.
I think just Giannis is a better athlete, just off rip. But Davis has more skills. Davis has a better shot than Giannis does, better post moves than Giannis does. Is a good defender. Um, I would say Anthony Davis because he has the length to defend Giannis. He has the ability to score from different positions and post moves that Giannis doesn't have. Giannis is he's a juggernaut. You remember in the X-Men, the juggernaut, if he got moving in one direction, you couldn't stop him from going. That's what he is. And you see that play out a lot of times. He backs up to the three, past almost a half court line and goes forward because he knows once his momentum gets going, you can't stop him or you're going to foul him. I think Anthony Davis has more in his bag. Uh,
I
if it
agree.
wasn't for if it wasn't for injuries, I think Anthony Davis would be looked at way differently.
I agree with you. I think Giannis would have to grab the rebound, step back, come forward. He's not
Yeah,
looking. I think Anthony Davis could post up, could fade away, could hook. I think he has more repertoire.
absolutely. Absolutely. And he's grown throughout his career where I think Giannis has hit a plateau where he doesn't seem to be growing any of his skill sets anymore. He is what he is type of guy.
Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant.
I think these guys are very similar. I mean, very similar. I mean, he can't be any more similar because Kobe mimicked Jordan's game. I'm going to give it to Jordan on the defensive end. Um, Not that Kobe couldn't defend, but Jordan's ego would not allow guys to get over on him. He just he didn't care if the guy was bigger than him. He's not switching. He would take the worst defensive assignment because he wanted to prove that he was that guy. I think just that of Mike. Listen, I love Kobe. If somebody wanted to make the argument that he's the second best player that they've ever seen play above LeBron, I'd listen, and I wouldn't argue with them. But when it comes to Jordan, there was just so many intangibles that he did that would make him better than Kobe. And if we want to compare teams to the Bulls to the Lakers that he was on, I think Kobe just had better help around him as well. So I'm gonna go Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. I think Jordan, um, maybe a little bit more physical physique. Um, had a big repertoire. I think both of them men are almost duplicates. If that would be a great game because you talk about two guys with attitudes and cockiness, but I think Jordan will come on top.
And if anybody picked Kobe, I wouldn't say a word to them. That's how you know it's so close. If they go, no, Kobe got it, I would go, okay. There's no argument there. That's how good Kobe was. That's how good Jordan was. There would be no. This is simply a preference thing of
I agree.
whatever.
I agree. What about Dwayne Wade
I love D Wade.
versus Carter?
Vince. So so Vince was an athletic freak of nature. Um, Anybody who talks about the best dunker in the NBA and says LeBron or says even Michael Jordan, um, it's just not true. The best dunker I've ever seen in my life was Vince Carter. He could glide, he could jump high, he had control of his body. He's the best athlete I've ever seen. Dwayne Wade was a great athlete, but he was small, 6'4". stocky, well built dude, and had a lot of skill. I think Vince gained skill throughout the years, but in the beginning of his career, it was just simply, I'm just a better athlete than you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give it to D Wade here, even though I love Vince. I'm not bad. I think that D Wade had a better shot, better control of the game, and was a better teammate and leader than Vince was. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say Dwayne Wade couldn't hold a candle to Vince Carter.
Really?
Yeah, I say Vince Carter would just smash him. I don't think he would be able to jump with him. Even if Vince Carter just says, I'm going to pop outside, I don't think he has the ups to stand with Vince Carter. I think Dwayne Wade was a good player, but putting him around good teammates made him look a lot better. So I don't think he was that great of a player. I think maybe I would almost put him as maybe a little overrated.
I think that you'd be surprised if you looked at Vince Carter, who he played with, um, and some of these guys who got better when Vince left. Vince was a real big focal point. I don't think if you ask me who's a better shooter, D Wade was a better shooter early in their careers. I mean, or in their prime. Later, maybe Vince became a better shooter. In Orlando, he was a better shooter than he was in Toronto or in the Nets. That's a good one. That's a good one. It's two different styles of guys too. So I don't really, you know what I mean? Those two guys are. It's kind of hard to compare them to.
What about this one? I'm going to give you past and present. I'm going to give you Charles Barkley, Charles Barkley with
Hmm.
Zion Williams.
So undersized but ultra athletic Charles Barkley, and very skilled. I think people don't give Barkley enough credit for his skills. It's impossible for a guy his size to score as much as he did in an era of big men against those big men. You know what I mean? Without being very skilled and having a plan. Zion is a athletic freak, uh, but I'm not. There's no way I could say Zion.
Really? I say Zion. I say Barkley Charles Barkley was big, um, had good, he was a good power forward, but I think Zion Williams, where he will make up and I think dominate is in foot speed. That I don't think Charles Barkley left to right could cover him so fast. If you're backing each other up, yeah, I think he could. But I think Zion Williams is too fast, would be too fast for Oakland. I keep on
This
saying.
is what I would say. I don't think Zion plays good enough defense to stop Barkley. I think his athleticism makes him lazy because he thinks he can make up the ground. He thinks he's fast enough to make up ground. He thinks he's fast enough to jump and block somebody's shot. And I think the pressure Barkley would put on him, because just thinking of the guys that Barkley had to guard, Karl Malone was strong and a load. Even though I hate Karl Malone, I've always disliked him. Um, if he could guard Karl Malone with all the attributes that Malone had, I think Zion Williams would be not a big problem for him to guard. But it would be a good battle. It would be a good battle.
Yeah. What about Melo versus Penny Hardaway?
Oh, Carmelo Anthony is one of the most gifted
Not
scorers
Carmelo,
I've ever seen.
not Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, LaMelo
Melo.
Ball. Okay.
The one in Charlotte.
Yeah.
versus Penny.
Oh, Penny. Melo has all the skills to be a great player. He's fast. His shot is not great. He shoots it low, easily blocked if you're on him, because he shoots it from here. It's just not above his head. And Penny had length. Penny had strength, had side speed. And Penny's one of those guys that people really don't know how good he was if you didn't see him because he just didn't do it for long enough. I think if you would have told me Penny and in his prime and Kobe in his prime, I think that would have been a really good matchup at that point because of how big and strong Penny was. Um, so I'm going Penny all day. Uh, Melo hasn't shown me anything except for his speed that maybe can give Ant Hardaway a problem.
Really? What about
Yeah.
Chris Webber
Okay. I have one after this.
versus Paolo Banchero?
That's a good comparison. In fact, um, I just, mm, hmm, I don't know. You know, Weber was strong. Paulo is strong for these days. There's a difference. Um, if we're talking prime on prime, which I don't think Paulo has gotten to his prime yet, I'll give it to Weber. It would not be. It will be close.
I think it'd be
Uh,
a heck of a basketball.
yeah, that would be close. I'll give it to Weber only because Weber in his prime was really, really good. Chris had all the post moves. He was big. He was strong. He was dealing with guys who were bigger than him. Um, I think Paulo right now is one of the bigger guys. Doesn't have to, deal with that kind of pressure. So I'll give it to Weber right now. But ask me that same question in a couple of years, and I think Paulo could have him.
Yeah, I would say Paulo just because I think he has a more well-rounded game. Paulo right now this year is shooting threes.
Mm-hmm.
Weber would have to kind of come up away from the basket. Paulo got some good feet. Weber long,
Yes.
long, big. Um, but he's gonna play in a shorter, closer to the basket role. I would have took Paulo on that time. But I do think the two monsters going head to head.
Yeah.
What's
So I
your
have a question for you. So I'm just thinking about skill on skill of these guys. I would ask Paul Gasol in his prime or Joel Embiid in his prime.
okay? Tell me the game. Let me see. Give me the game.
Paul Gasol, who played with Kobe, won the championship with Kobe, or Joel Embiid in his prime.
I would say Joel Embiid.
Really?
Two different guys, but I think I would take Embiid. When I look at players, I look at what's their game. Like for instance, Shaq would be unstoppable.
That's right.
You're not gonna stop him, but his game is limited. How many jump shots did he make? You know, his
Yeah,
game is a post up download game. You can't stop him. You
absolutely.
try to stop him, you foul him. That's how it went. You foul him enough. Now, every person, they're going to be going to the foul line. Your team's going to be in foul trouble. Yeah, you'll try to put Hack and Shack. That became a situation, but that only works so long, especially when they have good shooters at the outside. So I would have said I look for that well-rounded player, somebody who's very limited, doesn't excite me. So I would go with Embiid. I think he has a more well-rounded game. I think that's
And
what
you find Gasol as a limited player.
I just find him. I just think if I was to now go, okay, Gasol post up, I think Embiid's going to be hard to post up against. Now do it the opposite. I think Embiid will have a better shot of posting Gasol up.
I
And
don't I don't think
I
of
think keeping him
Embiid as a
up.
great defender, but um I don't think if Embiid is a great defender. I don't know. I haven't looked at any like that. If I was talking Anthony Davis, I think that would be Anthony Davis is a better defender. Um, but I can see what you're saying. Now, I'll give you one that, to me, these guys are very similar games, and it's a guy that nobody talks about. The one guy is going to be the Joker, Jokic. The other guy is going to be Arvidas Sabonis.
Yeah, yeah. I've been a Sabonis. Yeah, I think, man, I feel bad about that. We lost that one.
No, 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 no. That's his son. I'm talking about
Oh,
the dad who
oh,
played for Portland Trailblazers.
no, I would say Jokic. I would say Jokic. That guy, man, for a big man, that guy is crazy. I would say,
So,
you know who would have been a better combo if you told me? I would have said Jokic versus Duncan. I think that would have been a nice matchup. But I don't know about
so
that. I think Jokic.
just so the listening audience is clear, and just why I said that. In 1992, we did the Dream Team. The reason that we did the Dream Team in 1992 was because of Arvidas Sabonis and how he schooled the U.S. and the college players in the Olympics before. He's the reason the whole rules got changed for the Dream Team. They looked at that guy and said, well, this is a full grown man, and it's not fair he's going up against our college kids and Arvidas Sabonis. And that is the reason that Jordan and that whole group went to the Olympics that next time. Just so that we clear on how good Arvidas Sabonis is. When he came to the U.S. to play, he was already 30 years old and had already played like 12 years in the Euro League. That's how good he was. So I've always thought, I know Shaq will say, oh, Yao Ming gave him the most problems and Kareem Olajuwon will give him the most problems. I saw those games and I loved those Portland Trail Blazers teams with Ben Wallace and Brian Grant and Scottie Pippen. And I thought that Sabonis gave Shaq the most problems out of anybody he's ever played. Shaq has never given him credit for that, but in my eyes, that guy was not only not scared of Shaq, but was big enough and strong enough and heavy enough to play against Shaq. And those were some of the best games, those battles with those two. So I'm not going to say that Embiid wouldn't beat him or whatever. Or who did I say? I said Sabonis against or Joker. I'm not going to say that because Jokic is it's crazy how good he is, but I don't think it'll be as easy as I think you're saying.
Okay. What about this one?
Mhm.
Paul Pierce versus Luca.
um, that's very funny. That's very good. Um, it's very good. That's a very good comparison because Paul Pierce not the most athletic guy to ever play basketball, but scored a lot. It was very effective. Luca the same. I couldn't tell you who was a better defender. Luca's not a good defender. Paul Pierce was not a good defender. It's not why he was out there. Wow. Wow, that's a great call. Man,
I
I
think
think
we
this
got
might be,
I think we gotta let the people pick this one. I think we gotta
yeah,
let the people pick this one. We're gonna have to make a what is like a little questionnaire or
yeah,
something. I think that one's almost 50
a
50.
survey. I'll put it up. We'll put it to the fans to tell me. And I need people. I don't need the younger generation who has never seen Paul Pierce play or goes and looks at stats because that's not how this is gauged. Guys who've seen Paul Pierce play and guys who've seen Luca play, tell me who you think would win, who was the better player, because that's a tough one. They're very similar. Now, Luca, his points total was higher, but they shoot more threes now. But Paul Pierce shot threes, and if it was, people just don't understand. If shot selection wasn't a thing back in the day, these guys would have all been scoring way more and shooting more. But shot selection was big. These days, if you're 20 out of 40 and you scored 40 points, they're like, you had a great game. That would not have been a great game back in the day because they would have said you shot the ball way too much for not hitting. So, yeah, it's a wash. What do you think about it? I don't know.
Listen, that was one of all the ones. That's probably one I don't have an answer to.
Yeah.
I think that would have been so I wish I had a simulator to put it up because I would love to see that game. I think they both are not the most fast guys, very kind of deceptive in how they played, but man, they made shots. They made
You
shots.
know, I've got one for you, and both these guys to me are very similar. I would say Jimmy Butler
Jimmy Butler.
against Scottie Pippen.
Scottie Pippen's bigger, longer, but
Not by
Butler's
much.
pretty athletic. Um,
Both great defenders.
yeah, yeah, but I think great defenders, but man, I think Scotty would have length on defending. I think I think though, yeah, I think he would I would go Scotty. I think Scotty
It's
could
not.
stop him a couple
It's
times.
not by much.
Yeah, I think no. I think Scott. I would go with Scotty, but it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. You know, I've always thought that Jimmy Butler was very Scottie Pippen like. A good guy to be your number two, like Golden State's finding out. A great guy, you know. Also a guy who could run his own team when Scottie went to Portland. You know what I mean? And Jimmy was in Miami. Um, they're great basketball players and they do what they need to do to win. And I think those two guys are very, very similar. If anybody ever wants it that's never seen Scottie Pippen play, wants to know what did Jordan have running with him, I would say it's Scottie Pippen. He just didn't get the respect that Jimmy gets because Jimmy did it with the Miami Heat. You know what I mean? Who people didn't expect anything out of.
What about this one? Uh, Shea Gilchrist Alexander
Mm-hmm.
versus Jay Moran.
Well, I think SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, has more in the bag. I think I don't even think he's at his peak yet. I think he's going to go Kobe level high. I don't. Yeah, no, I do. Um, I think he has all the tools and he has the body, and he's only getting better. The more experience he gets, he's only getting better, and he has the mindset. John Morant is a fantastic player. The guy I would say he is Derrick Rose, physically, and I think maybe Derrick Rose has a better shot. Ja just doesn't have it upstairs. He's proving it over and over again, and I would love for him to change, but this NBA doesn't tell anybody they need to change. This NBA tells them, "We'll take you as you are." So I don't see him changing, and that's a shame. And so to me, SGA is on the way up. And I think right now, as I see it, John Morant has plateaued as high as he's going to go, which is high.
Wow.
But yeah,
Oh, and I don't know why. Oh, I got it. What about Kevin Garnett versus Durant.
Durant's a better scorer. Durant's one of the best scorers I've ever seen. The guy that I would say, if you wanted to put them against each other, that would wash out each other, will be Kevin Durant and Tracy McGrady. Those two guys fill up the bucket in every way you want. Kevin Garnett is a great player, just not in the level of Kevin Durant as far as scoring. Better defender, rebounder, but no matter how good Kevin Durant was on that side, I mean Kevin Garnett was on that side of the rebounding and defender. Kevin Durant is that much better at scoring the basketball than he is. If you wanted to say Kevin Durant's the best scorer you've ever seen in your life, it's a very difficult thing for me to say, no, this person was better, Jordan was better, or whoever you want to put up there, because that's how good Kevin Durant is at scoring the basketball. He's not a better player than some of these other guys, but at scoring the basketball, it's almost like it's easy to him.
Yeah, I would agree. He's one of these guys that sometimes I wish he just gets out of his own way. Just play ball.
Absolutely.
Just play ball.
And stick with a team. You can't you complain about this team not winning, but they did everything to get you, and then you guys are not winning together. It's not team's fault. It's a whole. You're part of this. If it's a donut, you're that big center part. Getting you took the center out of there, that donut. So you can't now complain that you guys are not winning the way you thought. You got to stick there and build and try to fill that hole in. And he doesn't want to do it. And he likes to blame other people and say how it's other people's fault. No, it's his fault.
Yeah.
It's his fault. When you're the best player on the team, it's never anybody else's fault.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, you said this player, and I was putting this player up with somebody else. T-Mac.
Yeah.
Which I thought he was one of the freakiest players, and if he was on another team, but the Magic, or the Magic could give him some help, I think the Magic could have had more championships than a lot of teams.
If Grant Hill wouldn't have got hurt. I mean, just put that out there.
Yeah, but T-Mac versus LeBron James.
T-Mac versus LeBron James. Well, LeBron's a freak, right? And LeBron is very, very, very good at everything. He's not as good of a scorer as Tracy McGrady is. But he's done it for longer. I understand that is all his accomplishment. He's just not as good of a scorer as Tracy McGrady was. But he's so much better at everything else. And Tracy, when he wanted to, the best defense Tracy McGrady ever played on anybody was against Kobe Bryant, because they had a rivalry. They played against each other in high school. They came out at the same time, out of high school at the same time, and they were friends. And so they played each other very hard. Other than that, I don't know if Tracy cared to play defense on other people. And LeBron has guarded everything from 1 through 5 and done it good. I can't put Tracy over LeBron. LeBron is a great player. In every way, LeBron is better than Tracy McGrady, except for scoring.
Yeah, I think LeBron would have beat him. He's a bigger specimen. Even if we downsized LeBron a little bit when he was younger, McGrady, man, you talk about good handle, long jumper. I think he can come inside, outside, all those things. I think it would have been a battle. Two guys at their prime. I think LeBron probably could have took him. But again, I think it would have been a close
Sure.
scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, neither of those guys are pushovers. My only thing is that if I'm going, who can guard who better? Could Tracy guard LeBron better than, or LeBron? I would have to give it to LeBron, stronger, bigger, and historically a better defender. Now I've seen Tracy defend, and like you said, he was so long and he jumped so high. His his talent was limitless, but I think in that one aspect, he just never let it go that way, you know. And if we were putting them on teams, LeBron made a lot of people better. Tracy, I don't know if he put the guys around him up to be better, um, like LeBron has.
What about Jason Tatum
Mm,
versus Grant Hill?
man, Grant in his prime was so good. For those who don't know, Grant Hill came around right as Michael Jordan was leaving. And a lot of people really were looking at Grant going, this is the next guy. Um, it's hard for me because Jason Tatum to me has all the physical skills. I don't know why. I just can't get behind him. I
Really?
can you I don't know. I don't know why. He's not the type of superstar I would want on my team. I can't paint
Whoa,
him.
that is
No.
that is deep.
Because you would say, right? You would say Jason Tatum right now, what would he be in the NBA? Top five? If
Jason
you're starting a team?
Jason Tatum, I could put him as a two. I could put him as a small forward. Um,
No, but what I'm telling you, would if I'm starting a team in the NBA players right now, where would you put Tatum on the list? Five, six?
oh. From all the players out there,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't put him maybe five or six because you there's a lot of players that I would probably take first. You got, like you said, the Joker, you got Steph Curry, there's a
But if
lot.
you're starting a team right now, you're not going to take Steph over Tatum, right? He's older.
I don't know, man. I think I would still take a shot. Devon Mitchell. You know what I mean? That's an outside presence you need. Um, you know, Anthony Edwards.
Top,
Some of these guys I would put ahead of Tatum. But Tatum would be the top 10.
top 10. Okay. I if there was 10 picks, I don't think, and I'm number 10, I don't know if I'm picking Tatum if he's there at 10.
Wow.
I would pick
Whoa.
somebody else.
Holy
And
moly. You just broke the internet with that one. You wouldn't take him as top
I
10.
don't know, I can't tell you why. I just can tell you that I don't think I would, you know, and maybe one day we'll do a who we would pick first or what second, third. That's fine. But so that's what makes it hard with Grant Hill because Grant Hill would have been a guy that in 99, in 1999, when he was, at the height, taking these Detroit Piston team that had nobody at those times. And he was taking them to the playoffs and deep runs and playing so well. It's hard. I would take Grant Hill. I would take Grant Hill.
Wow. I think they're two very similar guys. For me. I think I probably would have taken maybe Tatum a little bit. I think I would have took him over Graham. But I don't think
Um,
anything.
and,
So far, the players that we're matching up again, I don't think anything can go
and
wrong.
yeah, and you saying that, and I'm not going to say I can't argue what you're saying. I can only tell you how I feel about it. If I was to take him, I would take Grant Hill and feel better about it. If I took Tatum, I'd be like, oh, I guess I'll take Tatum. You know what I mean? And that's not how you want to be when you're picking the guy, And before we go, I want to say one thing. about uh, a coach that I fear we won't see again. That so Greg Popovich earlier this year, he had an incident. I think it was a stroke or two. Took him off the bench for the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich has been one of the best coaches that of my lifetime. I mean, through different iterations of the San Antonio Spurs, up and down, good and bad, he's been constant, and that team has never been really far away from from being in it. And Popovich, this it was taken away from the bench, has not been on the bench this whole year, the remainder of this year, and he just had an incident outside of the bench on the offseason. So now he had another setback. So I'm afraid that Popovich will never come back to the NBA. And that would be a shame. The NBA will be lessened for it. And I just wanted to put that out there because I don't think a lot of people know how big Greg Popovich is in the NBA circles, or how big he should be. His influence and his direction in the NBA is going to be missed. So I put that out there, guys. We're thinking about him, and appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe. We do this for the love of it, and we do this for the comment. I know you guys try to be mean to me on the comments, and I never mean back because I don't care what you say. I just want the comments. So, Roy, tell the people what we want them to do every single day.
Talk to a stranger about sports today. Have those conversations, people. Just give us a like. Subscribe to our channel. Doesn't cost you a penny, but it sure does help a lot.